Welcome to N2 the Chatterverse, where two gents share their 2 cents on pop media. I am Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics.
And I'm Bill, and somehow this episode's going to morph into a Star Wars conversation.
Not somehow. We know exactly how it's going to do it.
It wasn't intended
It
to.
was not intended. It was never intended to, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
What we are going to talk about, though, is the release of Ryan Coogler's new movie, Sinners, co-starring, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, Michael B. Jordan, who plays 2 roles.
Yeah.
It is a brilliant historical timepiece, not historical, that makes it sound true, period piece, that's what I was looking for, period piece that features vampires and a lot more context than that. I had the pleasure of seeing it in its opening weekend. You haven't seen it yet, though, but I think you will like it. I think you'll dig it. There was so much that went into the conversation about this movie up front. Obviously, Michael B. Jordan playing 2 roles in the twins, Smoke and Stack, and how, very brilliantly so, they are 2 very different people. Like, it's really weird to a degree. Like, as you're watching it, you start picking up on their actual differences, so that even like once they're separated and one is doing something, and another's doing something else, you know exactly who's doing what. And it's not that people are calling them by name. You know who it is because they are 2 very well done characters.
So to morph this into a Star Trek conversation.
Let's go.
Star Trek conversation.
That's right.
One's data.
Yes.
The other one's lore.
Yes. And God, that's a good reference. Good reference, because you absolutely can tell the difference. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. But the reason that we are talking about this is a little fervor, a little storm that has been kicked up because Variety tweeted a bad faith headline.
Yeah.
In talking about the financial intake of this opening weekend. And I don't understand what the motivation is here, but the reason why this is clearly, a storm of any sort is because Ben Stiller, great actor, comedian, director, called them out on it via Twitter. And in your opinion, he was absolutely right for doing so.
Yeah, because why does it matter that you make all your money back in the first weekend?
Right. That's not necessary as a benchmark for success.
It's right up there with, well, a movie's not a success unless it makes $1 billion.
It's crazy.
You realize that not every movie makes $1 billion. Right. There's been like 31 movies that have made $1 billion.
Out of all of moviedom.
Yes.
Like that's
and it's all recent. It's not it's not like, The Godfather made $1 billion.
Right. It did not.
I don't care if you adjust it for inflation, because you could just stop with that.
Yeah. Because that means that every movie in time could be considered $1 billion movie. It's not.
Yeah.
And to that end, like, I think that's such an important piece, especially as we're coming off of CinemaCon and the idea of encouraging people to go back to the theaters. Mm-hmm. I feel like this kind of knocks that movement out at the knees, because it's like, well, you were close, but you're not quite there. Like, is the idea to discourage people? Because that almost is what that sounds like, in a way of saying, like, well, they did good, but it's not quite close enough. There was something strange to that.
Well, I think the biggest problem is taking it in the context that it should be.
Right. If
you read the article, this information comes from an industry expert.
Right.
Which I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. But it's not.
It doesn't read that way.
It doesn't read that way at all. It's just like they've said, hey, look, it made $61 million, which also wasn't true, because it actually made more than that.
Right.
But it's not going to make its money back, or better yet, it's not going to be profitable.
Right.
And like, that's why would I read that article at that point?
Right. I feel like I've gotten what I need to out of your perspective from this. To read it verbatim, Sinners has amassed $61 million in its global debut. It is a great result for an original R-rated horror film, yet the Warner Brothers release has a $90 million price tag before global marketing expenses, so profitability remains a ways away. It's the yet part. Yet the Warner Brothers, like, if they had just stopped before that, it'd be fine. That'd be a great, like, let me read more about this, because that's one of the things I think is also very important to understand. An R-rated movie is harder to make back good sums of money because there's fewer people that are actually allowed to go see it.
Right.
So for it to make 61, and again, that's the low end because it made more than that. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, especially over a religious weekend. Like, not for nothing, like it opened up Easter weekend.
Yeah.
There are vampire jokes about Jesus aside, but like, you know, that's not easy. That means like there's like a whole day in terms of Sunday that people are devoted to family time.
Well, and that's the best part about it is that the $3 extra $1 million came on Sunday.
Yes. Like that's the thing that they weren't expecting at all.
Yeah.
That's when it happened. So, you know, I think that there's something very interesting to, again, the framework of what we understand profitability in movies are, how it's made. And I definitely want to shoot it to you to break that formula down one time for people. It's not just a matter of making back the budget.
Right.
Like you have to account for there's more than just the cost of making the movie. There's the cost of promoting the movie.
Yeah, the marketing is the X factor usually in this because they never tell you how much.
Right.
Like, well, industry experts say they did blah 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 blah.
Right.
Okay, there are times that you can see that. Like if you know, see cross promotions with like 7-Eleven,
right,
or if you see a lot of commercials on sports. Or,
that makes sense. Yeah.
But, you know, there's, you know, you could have told me that they've spent $100 million and I'm going to go, where is that money?
Right.
I haven't seen anything.
That's fair.
You could have told me they spent $3 million and I'll be like, okay, I can understand that because I haven't really seen anything. But they probably didn't market it to where I'm watching also.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the streaming services I have are ad free.
Yeah. And now I have to wonder too, like, does that account for the budgetary factor for these movies? Like, obviously, to get that back, knowing that so many people have ad-free services, are you paying more or less for marketing? Like, how does that, do we have any figures that say like how that actually works?
Well, it would be just like, you know, whatever Netflix feels that their ad
is worth.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now with Amazon, I don't, you know, that's the one that, since I get that because of a Prime member, I'm not paying extra to get free ads because I don't really care.
Right.
But I just think that the marketing, this always bothers me. The marketing part of it is never put into the budget, and it should be.
Right.
But no one is going after that because they know that they'll have to end up taking less money.
Yeah.
And the people that get hurt on that are the ones that get the points.
Right. Because it's always this moving goalpost.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we didn't make back the marketing yet. Sorry. I agree. I think that's kind of the craptastic part with withholding that information.
Yeah, I think that with the numbers they were throwing out there, that they said that the first My Big Fat Greek Wedding didn't make any money. And I'm like, that movie cost like $5 to make and it made over $200 million. It made money.
It made lots of money.
And I think they even paid, I don't even know if they paid like millions of dollars for that movie.
Right. I would imagine no. It was a very small budget piece.
Yeah.
And
you know, it's the whole, and that's, and I even think that's before they even counted the international market. Everything was domestic.
Wow.
So yeah, the studios have ways of going about their business,
right.
And it's
that system.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And it would make you feel dirty, I think, if you got into it and you're like, how do you guys sleep at night?
And they're like in a bed full of money, like Scrooge McDuck is how I sleep. You said Ben Stiller wasn't the only person that you saw call this out. He's the one that I saw the most.
There was somebody else, and I can't. There were like 3 people, and I think, Patrick Schwarzenegger was the one. The other
really?
One. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And there was somebody. Oh, Joe Russo.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Joe Russo came out against it too. I thought, and it was super sarcastic. Yeah, he like Why didn't the movie make all of its budget back in 3 days? Right. But then again, the Russos they know how to spend a lot of money.
I mean, true. Very true. But I guess also what I appreciate is the support of a fellow MCU alum as a director. Because I would say, quite arguably, when it comes to successful directors in the MCU, outside of the Russos, Coogler is up there as like next in line. You can argue maybe Joss Whedon does count, but I think for what...
Aren't you forgetting someone?
Not specifically, but I'm saying like in terms of...
I mean, he made 3 movies for him.
Who, John? No.
Gunn.
Favreau did. Who did?
Gunn. James Gunn.
Were they financially that successful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially the last one.
I didn't think that all of the
Guardians... didn't make...
Yeah.
He made 3 movies that I think they made close to $3 billion.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I just know that like in the Box Office Mojo top 10, I do believe we've got 2 Russo entries, maybe 3. Definitely Black Panther is in there, and I think Avengers 1 is in the top 10. But I don't think... Is there Guardians in the top 10 of Box Office Mojo? Can we look that up right quick?
All time.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, they're not.
Okay. Interesting.
But
yeah.
Well, this is all domestic too.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Let me see if I can do. There's worldwide.
There we go. All right. So 1, 2. Oh, that's not even in there now.
Yeah, because it did do all that great overseas.
That's right. All right. So in the domestics.
Yeah, it's top 20.
Yeah, top 20. That's not bad.
Number 20.
Yeah, that's not bad. And yeah, you're right, because Avengers and Age of Ultron are both in there, but I did not see a Guardians.
The Guardians aren't in there,
okay.
but it's
but
not
still
like
good.
Yeah,
like that's not to dismiss the Guardians under any stance by how good they are.
Well, and I get what you're going after as far as Black Panther, but the second one, where's the second one?
I don't think it did as well, nearly as well.
Yeah, so that's and I think that with one of my point is that James Gunn was
consistently. I got you. I see you. And that I definitely.
And I'm not trying to dismiss Ryan Coogler as a director because I enjoy his directing. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily enjoy his movies.
That's fair. I think that's.
And I think it had a lot to do with the story more so.
Got you. I had a lot of people that had feelings about his endings who don't necessarily love the way he wraps up his stories.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
Yeah. But yeah, this one, I think having those individuals call it out, I think is important.
Yeah.
If for no other reason, then it kind of shines the light in a weird sort of way. Like I feel like that's the type of stuff being reported that leads to more industry shutdowns, more, more strikes that can hurt because there's not.
I mean, I looked at it as not just going after Ryan Coogler, but they were going over at the heads of Warner Brothers,
right?
Which, going into CinemaCon,
right?
The rumors have been that they're out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Minecraft hit.
Maybe.
And then you don't hear about it. And then, with Sinners, they're like, well, maybe they should be out. Like, because there are things that they've greenlit. There were things that they didn't greenlight, but they inherited that didn't do well.
Right.
But, there's stuff that they're willing to shovel out money, and you're like, why?
Why did you do that? Now, one of the other things that is coming out about this is that it kind of sparked a new deal structure that Ryan Coogler has negotiated that a lot of industry people are like, oh my God, this could change things. This could break what we do. And in what I saw, I didn't see that thing that necessarily did it. But again, I am more of a novice in terms of understanding the rules and structure of moviedom. And the biggest thing that I saw was that the rights would revert back to him after 25 years.
Well, I'm out. So I've heard that.
Yeah.
But I'm also curious if there are any terms to go with that.
Okay.
Because, I mean, if you look at DC's handshake deal with Moore over the Watchmen,
right? That did not work out in his favor. He
no,
got
because
nothing back.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, he doesn't want anything. He just wants them to stop.
Right. But it's still making money for them, so they're not gonna.
Yeah, and the handshake deal that he had is still in place.
Right. I can't remember how long it has to be out of publication. It's like 2 years or something. It's something weird where it's like a short amount of time for it to be out of publication and it goes back to him, but it's never been out of publication.
Well, and if you think about it in terms of making that deal and when he made the deal, it made total sense.
Made absolute total sense.
Because, people weren't doing trade paperbacks.
Right.
They weren't doing graphic novels over and over and over again. And, he just happened to write something that
changed the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You sucked at being successful.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's the problem. I mean, it's right up there with The Dark Knight Returns.
But to that end, like, I would have thought with the idea of rights revisions or things like that it would kind of encourage a creator to put their best foot forward in what they create. But you made a really good point as a person who orchestrated a similar deal, who we can say maybe does not live up to that standard, despite the fact of how successful their franchise work has been. And that's George Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, he said, "Yeah, you don't have to pay me. Just give me the rights.
Give me the rights."
Yeah.
Now, was it always the rights, or like, because I know he had the toy rights immediately, right? Like that was because he made the early deal with like Kenner, and that's how like he really made some really good money off of this. But was it also that the total actual rights to Star Wars was going to revert back to him at some point, or did he?
I think he outright got everything to do with Star Wars.
Wow, that's unheard of. That is absolutely.
That's just so. I mean, and if you think about it, the deal with Disney wasn't between. This was before they sold off.
Right.
They sold off Fox. It was between Lucasfilm,
right,
and Disney.
Wow, that's wild. So I mean, it still took some time for him to get that back, right? Because when did Disney buy Lucasfilm?
That was like
2009,
12
something. No,
12 might be close.
It might be close. Yeah, I think it was 12.
Yeah,
because 9 was when they bought Marvel. Because they bought Lucasfilm shortly around then.
I remember being super happy about it.
Right.
And then 2012.
Yeah. There it is. Okay. All right.
I love that. For 4.05 billion, equivalent to about 6 billion today. Because it was in cash and stock.
That's right. Right. And that's a move. And clearly with his ownership of it, has he necessarily put out, the best work of Star Wars? No. He doesn't think that Han shot first. And I'm not even a Star Wars guy, and I agree that should be true for Han.
Yeah. One of the things that I really loved about Star Wars when it came out was how he was able to paint a picture with very little. And he went back and made it a lot. And I was like, he's a completionist.
Got you. That's a really good point right
and
there.
I understand these people, but boy, do you drive me up the wall.
Sometimes you just got to let it be.
Yeah.
Like, let what was, that's it.
I remember meeting someone in San Diego one year. He was an artist, and he showed me his stuff. And I said, "You're a completionist, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't see an inch that's not filled."
Yeah. That's kind of an OCD-ish type thing, which I get, but part of the artistry is knowing when to stop. And when it's celebrated, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Like, I remember watching Empire with Cloud City the way it was, and then watching the special edition, and it's just like, it had to fill sky because it was so, it was a huge city. And I'm like, cities aren't that big.
No. You can generally walk around most cities in like a day.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cool.
Cloud City doesn't need to be a planet on its own.
And like I said, I will never knock George Lucas for being an innovator.
Sure.
He 100% knocks it out of the park.
Now, when it comes to
storytelling, he's just, I don't know.
Maybe not.
I don't know what's happened. This is not the same guy that made American Graffiti.
Right.
Which is a great movie.
It's a classic, absolutely. But the question becomes, was American Graffiti great because it had natural constraints on it? He was trying to actually capture something that was real and not just something he made up. And I would almost argue that it's kind of rude to say it this way, but that's also part of the reason why Indiana Jones works, is because it's more real, and then he didn't direct it. Like, he just kind of came up with this story, and then Steven was like, let me hold that. Let me nurture this.
I mean, I get that, but also like, there's still character development in the first three movies.
It's true.
There's none past Palpatine in the prequel, and there's nothing, and he had nothing to do with the sequel trilogy.
Right.
But, Palpatine, to me, was the only character that changed throughout
any way,
it.
shape, or form. Yeah.
And you had a lot of great actors in there.
It's true. And do you think that the issue was they were aiming for an endpoint and they weren't allowed to actively build something?
I think what it was is that he had something in his mind, and what was in his mind was how it looked more than how
it read.
Yeah.
I got you. Man, that sucks. I can tell you, like, Sinners does not suffer from that. Sinners has, if anything, it's smart when you're not expecting it to be. And if you go into this thing and like, oh, it's just a vampire movie and it's cool that Michael B. Jordan, who's pretty, is in it twice, they hit you with some contextual things that you're like, oh.
Well, I would also never say that Ryan Coogler does not bring out acting in people.
Very true.
And he does.
Yeah.
Like, I even if you just go with the first two Black Panthers, I don't ever say, this person was just flat.
Right. No, he gets it.
Yeah.
He gets it. And even if it's not a wholly original concept, Creed was great. And like, to pull Sylvester Stallone's Rocky, character, but make him secondary, like, that was amazing. So, like, you're absolutely right. Like, he knows how to get the performances that he needs and wants out of the actors that he's working with. And
that may be where he came in and said, I want the characters because Sylvester Stallone is doing that now.
Right. That's
or
true.
has been doing it for a while.
Right. So that's an interesting one. We'll see how this overtly impacts the industry. Just please know, if you are doing any sort of commentary, news reporting, or anything like that, let's have a little bit more faith, some good faith writing in our headlines, because that's what these craftsmen deserve. Like, don't try to knock the wind out, even like accidentally. Be more specific about your aims in support of, art in that way, because that headline just does not do it at all. So we can do better. Y'all should do better. That's all I'm saying. Guys, thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of Into the Chatterverse. If you have not seen Sinners, go see it. I think you would dig it. Seeing it with a room full of folks, I think, is the necessity. It gives that feeling of what that Final Destination Bloodlines gave us in a couple of places where you just get that, oh, snap, like that. You need that. And seeing it by yourself is not enough. You want a room full of people. So definitely go check that out. I am Victor Danders, the hardest working man in comics.
And I'm Bill, and I'm curious if it's still called Tweets.